What's up everybody, this is Ven, and I welcome you to the MOC Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. Today we'll be going over G2 Creep, created and posted on our message boards by Creep. Who'd have thought? It's another self-mock. And now, before we get into this, let me tell you about my method of reviewing like I do always, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each quality will amount up to 5 points, building up to a total score that will be determined at the end of the episode. So let's get this started. First thing that I really like about this MOC is the color scheme. As you can see, it sports black, yellow, and even transparent light blue. These appear to be the 3 main colors of the aesthetic, and they look really good together. We can even see hints of silver and gray, and a little bit of red here in the legs that kind of sticks out a little awkwardly. And it's pretty clear that the gray and the silver is mostly used for the actual build, so it's mostly covered by the 3 main colors, and it doesn't even look bad to begin with. Now, some interesting features in the design of this MOC are of course the head. That's definitely the most interesting detail on this MOC. And then there's also parts of the leg that I think look really cool. I like how that yellow ankle guard is used here for the bulk of the leg. And then there's this unique design of the claws utilizing system parts, which look perfect because they don't look too big or too small. Though I will say, what does look a bit too small are those feet. I actually like these pieces, but they just seem a bit too small for this particular MOC. Let's go further up from the feet and take a look at the head, which instantly gives me a bit of a Transformers vibe, except a Transformer I'm pretty sure has eyes and sometimes they have mouths. This guy has like plating all over his head, sort of like a faceless robot. Maybe that's why they call him Creep, because this is kinda creepy. I do really like the antennas that he put on the sides of this head and the low detailing on the back that makes it look like there's this gray robotic head that's being armored by this black and yellow plating on the front. I also notice that the back appears a bit lacking. There isn't too much armor or anything interesting going on with the back. I feel like it could have been easy to just place something here so that it doesn't look so empty. There's even open slots offered by these red ball pieces that are kind of here for some reason. I'm guessing they're there to balance out the red in the legs, which probably shouldn't be there anyway. But overall, I enjoy the way this MOC looks. It's fairly small and a bit simplistic, but it still maintains a unique appearance and a nice looking custom build that I'm gonna start going over right now. And so, as I just mentioned, everything about this MOC is custom. Well, except for maybe the upper arms. But if you look at the torso, the legs, the forearms, and the head, you'll see that they're all completely custom made and fairly well built, if I do say so myself. The legs are bulky and they look sturdy enough to keep this MOC standing. I mean, look, it could even stand on one leg. I mean, that's quite impressive, but given that this MOC doesn't have that much weight to it, I guess that's just kind of a given that I'd be able to do this. What is interesting though about these legs is the articulation. I can't tell if these legs are able to bend properly because of the way that they're connected to the ball pieces. It looks as though these legs would be bending side to side, not so much back and forth, which is a bit awkward. Limits posability and makes the MOC appear a bit stiff, at least in this area. The torso's got a really interesting build. Despite the empty look of the back, it's pretty clear to me that it's a really solid and durable construction. So, not much I can really criticize here, except maybe getting rid of those red ball pieces that do nothing. Moving off to the side, we take a look at the forearms, which are very interesting, utilizing a Hero Factory bone piece, but not exactly in the way that it was intended for. And this is really neat because then it allowed for the build of these claws and the attachment of these daggers on the underside of the wrists. And it looks as though that entire construction is being held by this whole doohickey with the rubber band here. It looks like this is what's keeping that whole thing together, and I'm not sure how to feel about that. It looks like it's doing the job, but what happens if the rubba-dubba band breaks? Then you won't have any rubba-dubs to do the rubba-dub-dubbin' and the rubba-dub-tubbin'. And then moving on to the head again, which looks really good again. I think it's really neat that he utilized system parts to add to the detailing on the head and make it the way that it is. But this also kind of makes me wonder, why isn't there that much system in any other areas? I think that would have been neat to incorporate some system into the body or the legs, where there's plenty more room for added parts. But anyway, I guess at the same time that isn't really necessary, because the head being made out of system by itself doesn't really detract from the overall appearance of the Mach. It actually has a nice flow with all these smooth Hero Factory parts and these specific Bionicle parts that he used, which also appear a bit smooth. Anyway, the build. The build of the head looks great, but I can't seem to make out how this head is able to turn around and have this neck articulation. It doesn't look like there's a ball joint involved. So this is kind of interesting, looking really hard, and I think I'm gonna hurt myself if I look even harder, so let's move on to the concepts. So the big idea behind this Mach is that I guess it's supposed to be a self-Mach, which is of course a reflection of the builder in a certain creation. There isn't really all too much information for me to go off on, other than supposedly the species of this thing is canine, which is interesting. It would explain the claws and I guess the ears on the head, but canine? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that's like a code name for something. I don't know. This is very ambiguous. You can see it in the topic when I link it in the description below. But anyway, I guess self-Machs don't really need all too much explanation. I mean, if it's a self-Mach, that's all the explanation you need. It's a representation of the builder, and it doesn't need to be anything more than that. So, yeah, I guess with that said, let's move on to the scores. So in terms of appearance, I give this Mach a 4 out of 5. I really like the color scheme and the distinctive features like the claws and the interesting looking head, but there are a few things that I think could have been done differently, and man, I really don't like those red pieces sticking out here. The build of this Mach receives a 4.5 out of 5. It's small and sturdy, and articulation appears limited in the legs, and those rubber bands seem a bit untrustworthy. But since I'm going off of what the pictures have to offer, I guess the main complaint is that the articulation is limited when it shouldn't be. Also, you could have filled up the back. But aside from that, overall, not too many other complaints I have about the build. So, concept and ideas behind this Mach receive a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, it gets the job done. It's a self-Mach, and it's a self-Mach. If this is how he wanted to look, then good job. My only criticism lies with the criticism I have for the appearance, because like I said before, appearance and concept go hand in hand, because if it doesn't really look good, that kind of tells me that the builder's ideas weren't well executed. So that's why I docked off that half point there. So, final score of this Mach, I deem a 13 out of 15. Overall, it's a really nice looking Mach. It's not bad by any means. There are a few quirks about it that I think could be changed, but in the end, Creep, you did a good job of making yourself a creep. I still question the whole canine identity of this, but I guess I'll be finding that out sometime after this video when someone corrects me in the comments. Thank you all for watching. If you have a Mach that you'd like to be featured on the Mach Spotlight, post it on the message boards for a higher possibility that I'll find it and I may review it if I deem it interesting. You'll find our boards at board.ttvpodcast.com. I will link it in the description like I do always. And I'll see you all next time. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.